Welcome back, my friends. Attorneys for former President Donald Trump have asked Justice Juan Merchan to push back sentencing for his conviction for falsifying business records. Sentencing is now tentatively scheduled for mid-September, but Trump's legal team is asking for a delay until after the election. There are a few key technical reasons for the request. Here to help break it down with me is veteran trial lawyer and my longtime friend and colleague, attorney David Schwartz. David, welcome here. I was telling some of the I was telling some of the folks here at Newsmax that in my career I have sentenced more than 1,000 people. I have never heard the government say, "It's up to you, Judge." It's always they have their own opinion. They tell you what they want to do. Why do you think when Trump's people obviously do not want the sentencing before Election Day, the government said, "It's up to you, Judge"?
Well, I think on the part of the government, it was a good strategic move. Look, they got their conviction at trial. They got their pound of flesh. I think politically and not to interfere with the election, I think it was a good move on the government's part to at least appear impartial. And they're not supposed to be impartial. Obviously, they're advocates for the state, but to at least appear indifferent as to sentencing.
So the government is going to say everything that Trump did, even though some of his behavior in this case, signing checks to Michael Cohen, was done in the White House. The government's going to say none of it was official and everything he did was personal. The reason they're going to make this argument is because Trump's lawyers are going to say, oh, that immunity decision that the Supreme Court came down with, Judge Merchan, you have to extract from what the jury heard that which was official. I don't think any of Trump's behavior in this case could be characterized as official, as exercising the powers of the presidency. Do you?
Well, that started, before the presidency, but even while he was president, this clearly was, a personal matter that he was taking care of. It had nothing to do with his official duties or pursuant to any duty to the presidency whatsoever. So I would agree with that.
The sentencing itself. Now, you have dealt with a lot of sentences. I've sentenced over 1,000 people in my career. There's a couple of questions that judges ask themselves to begin with. Does the defendant have any priors? No. Is the defendant a danger to society? No. How badly has the defendant harmed the victim? I would say, what victim? Do you think that Justice Merchan will impose a sentence of incarceration and perhaps suspend it for appearance sake? Or do you think he'll say, probation for 2 years, let's get this over with?
Right. This should not be a tough decision, Judge. Only with a 78-year-old man who's never been convicted of any crimes whatsoever. He was convicted of the lowest level, nonviolent felony, falsifying business records, a Class E felony. And how he was even bumped up to a felony, we know, is very questionable. So there's two parts to the judge's decision here. One, is he going to delay the sentencing? I think it's a no-brainer. Sentencings get delayed all the time for a myriad of reasons. So there's no reason why the judge, for appearance purposes, shouldn't delay it for 2 months after the election. The second, the question that you asked, though, I don't believe the judge should sentence Trump to any jail time whatsoever, based on those factors, that it's a nonviolent crime, that he's had a clean history, and the questions as to this crime in the first place, and one of the questions will be presidential immunity. I believe the probationary period would be a sentence.
Got it. David, I'd like you to stick around because former Senator Bob Menendez was back in court to see if he could get his guilty verdict overturned. David and I will talk about his chances on this when the Freedom File returns in just a moment.